So, welcome everyone. There's no one, everyone here. Okay, welcome. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning for our Child Care Resource and Referral Legislative Briefing. Normally, of course, like every other group's legislative day, we would be doing this in the Capitol. And for R&R especially, we take this opportunity every year in recent history, but usually at the beginning of each legislative session to inform new members about child care resource and referral, who we are and what we do in your communities. So now we do feel really lucky to have this virtual option because we're able to spread the word to a broader audience and really share with you from folks who are doing the work or who benefit from the work, all of the greatness of R&R and truly what we call the heart of R&R. The California Child Care Resource and Referral Network was established 40 years ago last year. We did not get to celebrate, just like all of the COVID birthdays and COVID anniversaries, we didn't get to celebrate our anniversary. But once the world is back to some semblance of normalcy, you'll all be invited to some bang up, probably 42nd anniversary party to celebrate all that is the heart of R&R. So today we're going to give you a brief background on what child care resource and referral is. And then we're going to hear from a provider, from a parent, and from an R&R counselor what the heart of R&R is to them. And we're going to give you a brief demonstration of a consumer website that we've developed that helps people find childcare in their own communities. So now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Kelly Gresh, who will give us background and history around child care resource and referral.
Thank you, Keisha. And welcome everybody. It's really exciting to see all of you here. I know many of you and some of you I've not met before. My name is Kelly Gresh and I am the Director of Member Services for the California Resource and Referral Network. I've been in the field for a long time. I work at a resource and referral agency for 25 years. And then prior to that, I was a family child care provider. And then I've been a family friend and neighbor provider in and out throughout my adult lifetime. So I am very excited to share information on the history of R&R with all of you. I'm not sure that brief and R&R go in the same sentence, but I'll do my best to try to keep it as brief as possible. I will share my screen with you. So we're going to start back in 1970. Back in 1970, it all started with a play group. The first child care resource and referral agencies actually formed out of what were informal play group, cooperative type situations where parents took turns caring for each other's children. One of those play groups was in San Francisco, another one over in Berkeley, and then about the same time, we saw the same thing happening in Southern California. And so in 1971, the Rosenberg Foundation funded a study to look at the social service needs of young families in San Francisco. And just like we see today, childcare and finding childcare emerged as a top priority for families. I think it's important for us to keep that in mind. In 1970, if we did a survey with families today in many communities, that would still be a top priority. So in 1972, responding to these needs, the Rosenberg Foundation made a small grant to the Child Care Switchboard in San Francisco. And you can see that at the very bottom of this chart. So 1970 to 72, you see Patty Siegel and Arliss Curry, who started those two beginning organizations. So we have these two play group type of organizations where there's shared childcare going on. And then there was a little bit of funding that was provided to these organizations, which started the very beginning of what we see as childcare resource and referral agencies. The same thing was happening in Southern California, and the Junior League conducted a study in Pasadena to find out what the childcare needs were at that time. And so in 1973, the San Francisco Foundation made grants to the Child Care Switchboard and to Bananas to develop their child care information and referral services. What quickly became apparent, which we still see today, is there was a shortage of available childcare. So the switchboard obtained a federal grant to recruit and train childcare providers. As you see the timeline start to move up, in 1975, you can see AB 3059, which was signed by then Governor Jerry Brown. And this was legislation to establish child care resource and referral, as well as alternative payment programs in California. So we can see that in between 70 and 75, we're starting to gather more child care resource and referral agencies. And then in 1976, the first allocations were distributed through an RFP process by the California Department of Education. So now we're seeing 11 CCR&Rs that were established in that year. And then over the next 4 years, the number would grow. It would continue to grow to 50 in a very diverse delivery system. So resource and referral agencies are public and private nonprofit organizations. Most are housed within nonprofits, community-based organizations, but there's a significant number that are also housed in county offices of educations. Prior to 1980, the R&Rs developed a mutual support network, which then became the California Resource and Referral Network. And as you see, the years go farther and farther. By 1984, an additional 14 CCR&Rs are funded. And then we see now that we currently have, this says 57 contracted child care resource and referral agencies. What's important to know is there's a resource and referral agency in every county in the state of California, but some have more than one. So there are 68 funded programs, contracts within California, and that has to do with different structures. Some agencies serve more than one county, and then some counties like Alameda have more than one. So there's 3 in Alameda, and then in Southern California, we also see multiple resource and referral agencies. So there are some memorable moments. 1979, there was a gathering of the child care resource and referral agencies. And the reason why this one is really important is there was an agreement to collect standardized data. And that we'll see as being very important as we look at the timeline all the way up to today. Resource and referral agencies provide a critical service to gathering the child care data that then provides the picture for everybody that needs to know about child care, whether that's to advocate for funding, to recruit in your communities. That agreed upon standardized data that happened in 1975 is a very critical component. In 1984, we see that there was a White House child care breakfast for business leaders. This is what actually was the beginning of the Child Care Initiative Project, which you'll hear a little bit more about in this presentation and then later today. In 1985, Partners in Prevention, a child abuse prevention training program used to train more than 9,000 providers from 1986 to 1988. You will also hear that child care resource and referral agencies are one of the largest training institutions for especially family child cares in the state of California. In 1986, Trustline, a background check of licensed exempt child care providers. Even today, family, friend, and neighbor, a critical, important option for families when they're choosing childcare. In 1989, the Loma Prieta earthquake elevated the need for Spanish-speaking childcare providers. El Comienzo project was a curriculum and training project that became very important as we learned that we have to have a diverse childcare delivery system in the state of California, as with all states, but to be able to respond to community needs. And I stumbled a little bit because I remembered back in, there was another date that I didn't include, but Believe it or not, there was a time when you had to be English speaking and white and married to be a family child care provider. And there was a lawsuit filed against the state of California to change that. I believe that was back in 1975. And so in California, we were definitely leaders in the child care resource and referral arena. And then you can see in 1990, the Federal Child Care Block Grant, which is the federal government support that we needed for the support of R&R services. Resource and referral agencies began in California. California was a leader, and it also helped to expand child care resource and referral across the United States. So we can see that child care resource and referral today is included in the Child Care and Development Fund, so the CCDF, and the Child Care Development Block Grant. These are the primary federal grants that provide child care assistance for families and funds for quality initiatives. We also see that child care resource and referral agencies are included in the Education Code. And there are also additional responsibilities related to Trust Line and Foster Bridge program. There is a continued long-standing within the community because your R&Rs are the trusted source of childcare, and they know all of the community resources. R&R staff that's what they do. They seek out the information and they pride themselves on being able to provide that information to providers and families. And then that data collection and dissemination. And remember that child care resource and referral is free in every county. In California, this is a publicly funded service that we have available for our parents and child care providers. This graph shows the reciprocal nature of the information that comes in through child care resource and referral agencies. And so we have our federal funding, and there's two state departments, CDE, CDSS, which contribute to the overall picture of child care resource and referral, as well as local funding. So down at the bottom, you can see that resource and referral agencies also may receive local funding because they know what's going on locally. That information is brought into the local child care resource and referral, and then that information goes back out to serve the family, the providers, and the community. Whoops, I forgot a title on that one. Finding the right child care provider takes work. Well, that's the message on this slide, even without a title. And it takes a lot of work. So there has to be accessible, affordable, and quality childcare in order for this to work. And those are the things that your child care resource and referral agencies have been there to do since the early 70s. The Heart of R&R, connecting and empowering parents. A child care referral has always been a relationship. Parents are the experts on themselves, their family, and their children. R&R support families through culturally and linguistically sensitive communications. And so these are charges of R&R in each community to know what their community is, what's the makeup, and what do they need, what's available. It's in every county, in family-friendly locations. And R&Rs know that family and children's needs vary, and parents need options and choices. R&Rs have comprehensive information about childcare in their service areas. They receive information about childcare providers from the providers themselves, as well as the California Department of Social Services Community Care Licensing. R&Rs utilize databases for referrals. Many of those are online. Remember, I talked about that standardized data back in 1979. That used to be on index cards, and then it moved to binders, and now it's more electronically. And I think you'll also hear a little bit more about what we have available as technology moves. But all steps of the way, resource and referral agencies have been at the forefront. They have been the experts in understanding what parents need, what's available for the providers, and making sure that that data is useful in order to provide the best referrals possible to make that search easier for the parents. That provider information is updated currently, monthly, or maybe more frequently if the provider calls up and says, "Hey, I had a change. I need more kids. I want to change this. I want to take younger kids, or I don't want to work 24 hours a day anymore." At the beginning of COVID, R&Rs responded to the needs of the essential workers, and they began updating that provider information 2 times a week. It was quarterly before that. Then it went 2 times a week. Now we're at monthly or more frequently as needed. R&Rs are so responsive to what the community needs are. And within your R&R database, it's not just a name and a telephone number. There's information like, do they provide transportation? Are there meals? What are the hours of services? And what other special information and services are available for the children and families of California? R&Rs also work with the Department of Social Services and the California Resource and Referral Network to administer the trust line services in California. This is a background check for licensed, exempt, and in-home care providers. Again, we have to have options for our families in California. Family, friend, and neighbor care is really important to those parental choices. Back to that data collection and dissemination, referral information is maintained in provider databases. It's standardized. It tells us what the current supply and demand is at a local as well as a statewide level. Helps us to understand and report demographic shifts and needs, and supports the understanding of what is needed by the providers, including market rates. Resource and referral agencies have been working with state departments for, well, since the early 1980s. And that collaboration helps all of us to be able to assist the families and the providers with information about licensing regulations, best practices. Again, there's trust line, communicating about licensing statuses, where to get that information from, how to access it. And then there's relationships that are developed, for example, with the California Department of Social Services. That department is the one that actually does the licensing approvals and the regulatory piece, but it's the R&Rs that help recruit and help walk the providers, the new businesses to open up, to understand how to fill out an application. It's definitely a coordinated process and one that works very well to help people to be more successful as they open up their businesses. So an average family in California will spend nearly 1/3 of their income on childcare for 2 children. R&Rs help connect and empower families. They know their communities and they help families to problem solve. Childcare is extremely expensive. Doesn't matter what your income is, it is going to take a huge chunk out of that income. R&Rs help families to do that problem solving, to connect them to childcare subsidies and offer other solutions. Could be other state or federally funded programs, or it could be helping to connect families to local resources that help to spread those family dollars a little bit farther so that they can find more money to help pay for childcare if they're not eligible for a subsidy. This is an example of a provider of a resource and referral page off of a website on how they help to empower parents and providers. You can see there's a family child care provider roundtable, meaningful experiences, COVID updates, essential worker updates. They are there to connect the providers and the families to the services in their areas. This one happens to be Child Action in Sacramento. Another title forgotten, so sorry. This slide indicates full-time childcare for an infant in California costs more than a year of in-state college tuition, but many families have not had the 18 years or maybe the 20 years that you planned, ahead of time to save for that college tuition. And so we have young families trying to afford a cost that is so extremely expensive. The Emergency Child Care Bridge for Foster Children is another program that helps families to be able to be eligible for not just the cost of childcare, but also individual help for the foster families that find themselves taking care of foster children and need to learn how to navigate this childcare system. So we have childcare navigators, we have an emergency voucher program, and then a trauma-informed care and training and coaching program through the R&Rs to help providers to be better able to serve the children that are in the foster homes. Very important program. This is one of the newer programs, so it's newer on the history line. And this one talks about promoting trauma-informed childcare practices across California. So this is available all throughout California. Not all counties are participating, but they are certainly encouraged to opt in when this new funding comes in. Responding to COVID-19. So we've gone through a little bit of the history. Here we are in 2020, and oh my goodness, the whole world changes. But resource and referrals, they're there, they're rolling with it, and they're responding to those community needs. That's what they have been doing for the last 30 or 40 years. If you get a chance, I encourage you to go to the network's website and to check out the COVID-19 first 100 days videos, and it shows a lot of the activities that happened at the resource and referral agencies. But it's not just COVID. Resource and referral agencies have been responding to community needs before COVID with wildfires, earthquakes. All throughout the history of their existence, resource and referral agencies are there to respond to the needs of the children and the families. But especially with COVID, I think it's important for us to recognize the hard work that resource and referrals did. They answered to the call. They disseminated supplies. Before there was public money, they found supplies locally. They found donations. They found grants to apply for. They set themselves up to work remotely from home, and then to also be able to disseminate supplies to providers while keeping their own staff safe. R&Rs work with their community to plan for childcare, whether it's COVID, whether it's a decline in childcare, as we have been seeing. California has lost 30% of its supply of licensed family childcare homes in the past decade. R&Rs see this, they live this daily. It's part of the history. Back in the early 1970s, we saw there wasn't enough childcare providers. We continue to work on these issues today. Resource and referral agencies recruit for childcare. They help people to understand they can make a world of difference from their home and open up their own business. So resource and referral agencies connect and support providers with referrals, supply building, building that trust, technical assistance, training. They support the full continuum of home-based childcare, licensed and exempt, since the beginning of what we call the Child Care Initiative Project, which began back in 1985. That was in one of those very first slides. The Child Care Initiative Project is a proven quality improvement project that delivers recruitment, training, and support for licensed exempt childcare, also known as family, friend, and neighbors, and prospective licensed family childcare providers throughout California. In order to do this, we have to go back to knowing that local community need, that data. R&Rs assess the supply and demand. They recruit, offer TA, and facilitate educational opportunities, something they have been doing since 1985. This is an example from Hively, which is in Alameda County, how they're connecting and supporting childcare providers through the services that they provide. You can see that connection to the California Department of Social Services. And so the R&Rs are there to support professional development activities, advocacy, education. There were multiple hats, and they must be knowledgeable about all areas of need. So not just family child care, but family, friend, and neighbor. What does the center child care look like in their area? State funded, federally funded, locally funded. They know it. They have that information. They're experts on all services in their community that support families. As you can see today, they engage in public policy. They're appointed to the Public Policy Committee for the network and keep track of legislation that affects families, children, childcare providers. Resource and referral agencies are embedded within their communities. They have been since the early 1970s and 1980s. They work with local groups. They provide local services. They're a hub of information. They work with employers and also planners within communities to help respond to the provisions of childcare. You'll hear a little bit more about my childcare plan. And that is the end of my update, my history for childcare resource and referral agencies in California. Thank you.
I've been talking to myself for the last 20 seconds. I said, thank you so much, Kelly. For everyone, Kelly's slides got stuck, and so we will send them out when I send the recording after the recording is uploaded. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to our provider who's going to share with us who's going to share with us her connection to her R&R and her experience with CCIP. So I'd like to introduce you all to Miran Algori.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Kelly. You said it all already. Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Kelly. My name is Miran Algori. I'm a family child care provider in Chula Vista in San Diego County. So we're very fortunate to have YMCA CRS as our local R&R. My relationship with the local R&R started without me even knowing that I had started a relationship. My relationship started with who I call the very nice lady that would come out to the childcare trainings that I was attending. Her name, Ana Cardenas, is one of those names I will never forget because of the impact that they have made in your life. So Ana Cardenas would come out and talk to our group. We were taking trainings to become licensed providers. And Ana Cardenas made all these resources available. And she'll say, oh yeah, I work with the YMCA CRS. I don't ever, most likely I didn't pay attention when she said that's your resource and referral agency, but she'll say, oh yeah, I work with the YMCA and I'm here to support you. And this is back in 1990, beginning of 1997. So she'll bring, pamphlets and all the written materials and she'll hand them out. And that's how I learned about the lending library. So I was very fortunate because when I started my family childcare, I did have materials. I did learn about setting up the areas for, to enhance the development of the children. It was through Ana Cardenas. And that's how the relationship with the R&R started. Like I said, without me even knowing, that's how I was engaging with my local R&R. She talked to us about once we were getting our license to contact the YMCA and get our name on the list of weekend referrals so we could get referrals. And of course we're starting a business and we want to get our, our name out. So that's how I learned about referrals. And throughout the years, Ana Cardenas was there. And then I started learning about more of the resources that the YMCA was offering, and I got more involved. And that's how I got to meet more of their wonderful staff. But one of the things that I want to highlight, and that Kelly so beautifully explained, is that the resource and referral agency is there all the time. But when we have situations such as COVID, they're there working 24/7. And I can say this because I have gotten emails during the weekend and late at night. And I don't mean like massive emails, I mean personal emails from the staff asking, Miren, we know that you're in contact with many providers. What do you guys need? How can we best support the providers? What is the main priority? And one of the things is I have seen the YMCA CRS, our local R&R, working with First Five, working with CCPU, making sure that they're not only allocating funding, but they are directly distributing PPE to providers. They're distributing cleaning and sanitizing supplies, making sure that we are able to keep our business open so we can serve the community. So that is the engagement of the R&R, going really out of the way, making sure that the children have, like Kelly mentioned, accessible, affordable, quality childcare, which brings me to the Childcare Initiative Project, SIP. I have been directly impacted by SIP by being a part of these project. SIP covers all the bases when it comes to a provider or a potential provider opening the doors and getting licensed, to seasoned providers like myself, staying up to date with licensing. They go from helping us with marketing, how to create a contract that covers all the bases, how to build strong relationship with the parents, how to make sure that we are supporting babies on their language development, how to support toddlers in their physical development by providing areas for motor, gross motor development. So everything and anything that comes to quality childcare, they cover. And this is, as Kelly mentioned, being sensitive to the needs of the community and the needs of the providers. So we have large group of Spanish speaking providers. So these trainings and these resources are made available in Spanish. And that is greatly appreciated because we're able to get the material in our mother tongue. And so we're better able to grasp the information and better serve the families who we're serving by being able to truly understand the content. So my relationship with SIP has been learning to advocate for the children, learning that we have a voice and that voice impacts 10 families, because small license, large license, and an average, we're impacting 10 families, we're impacting 10 children. Because at the end of the day, as early childhood educators, what we want is for these children to thrive. And I have learned that engaging the child means engaging the family as a whole. And those are the trainings that I have attended through the SIP programs, through my experience with SIP, engaging the whole family, learning about the needs of the whole family, learning how to be a mini resource hub and saying to the parents, okay, well, we see that these are your needs. You can contact the YMCA CRS, your resource and referral agency, giving out names. I have learned through SIP how important it is to remind the parents that you can call 211 and get that information. So many things that are taken for granted for many of us are the key to success to many of the families who we're serving. I have been able to make great collaborations with the coaches, and in the SIP coaches bring more people to the team, and they say, well, this is what the providers need. This is what the providers are going to get, because we're going to impact the providers, and they're going to go impact their micro communities. They're going to go impact the children. Again, we want to have these children succeed in life. That is at the core of what all of us are doing. All of us want the children to succeed, and the children can only succeed as long as their parents are empowered, and as long as their early childhood educators are empowered and invested. So I am very grateful for the support that I have had through my R&R and through the SIP program since back in at the very beginning of 1997. And I know that the children that we have been honored and blessed to care for have been impacted in a very positive way. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mirren. So as Kelly and Mirren brought up, SIP is extremely important to our childcare supply, our home-based childcare supply. And as you can see, SIP, well, as I'm about to explain, SIP received a $5 million expansion grant over the course of 2 years. And this was one-time CCDBG dollars. And it was because we were recovering from a huge loss, as Kelly mentioned, in family childcare supply as a result of the Great Recession. But you can see that when SIP was infused with significant additional funding, our programs throughout the state were able to increase the childcare spaces by 43% over 2 years. That's amazing. So but now in COVID, what we have seen in California from January of last year to January of this year, we've seen a decline of 14% of family childcare homes. And we know that it's potentially going to continue to decline. However, as parents begin to return to work outside of the home, they may have lost their childcare over the course of this pandemic, but we want to make sure that there's childcare for them to find. And by investing in SIP, again, we can rebuild this childcare supply. Some counties have lost upwards of 30% of their supply. And so it'll be really imperative that we do everything possible to bring the family childcare supply back up. Family childcare is where most infants and toddlers are cared for. They have non-traditional hours, more flexible hours, and are usually more affordable. So our budget ask is a $10 million one-time SIP expansion, which all of our members will learn about in their legislative meetings. Thank you. I am now going to pass it off to one of our fabulous R&R counselors, Emily Young. It's from Cocoa Kids in Contra Costa County, to tell us about her Heart of R&R.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've heard from some pretty great people, and I hope that what I say is just going to hit home and just reinforce what they've already said. My name is Emily Young, and I am the Resource and Referral Counselor and Special Projects Coordinator at Cocoa Kids in Contra Costa County. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I do want to talk to you about something that I am passionate about, and that's my job. I get to meet new people every day and help them through one of the biggest decisions that they will make. Who will care for their children? Sometimes these conversations are happening in the most intimately painful or vulnerable times of their lives. A first-time mom who's finding care for her new infant in the midst of a health crisis and pandemic. a freshly single dad who has sole custody, searching for someone to care for his school-age son while he works and schools have gone virtual. An intimate partner violence survivor who just left their preschool-age child's abusive parent, navigating the childcare system for the first time, all on their own. While it is true that some people can find childcare through a Google search, spending hours and hours upon weeks and months to find the right childcare for them, not everyone has the access, the resources, or the luxury of time. Yes, it is essential to have an online presence, but the ease of relying on technology comes at a price: humanity. That is where resource and referral agencies come in, and we have for over 40 years, as we've heard from Kelly. Using helpful tools such as the My Child Care Plan database, and with the personalization and touch of human interaction, we're the perfect marriage of technology and human expertise that parents need to develop their fully comprehensive and specialized childcare plan. Because what each family wants and needs from their childcare is different. One of my favorite authors and podcasters, which you may have heard before, Brene Brown, said, "At the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of my life, I want to be able to say that I contributed more than I criticized." So I ask you now, will you be a contributor?
Thank you so much, Emily. That is the heart. I'm gonna turn it over now to Gretchen, who's gonna tell us more about mychildcareplan.org, which Emily touched on. So Gretchen, you'll share your screen. There you go.
Hello, thank you so much. So as we've heard, it's really challenging for families to find childcare that they can afford and trust. And we know that right now, most families are searching online for care, but really dissatisfied with the results. And so that's why, based off of California's 40-year investment into resource and referral services, we have created mychildcareplan.org, California's consumer education website, which also meets the federal requirements from the Child Care and Development Block Grant. So this is our solution of what families have been asking for years, which is one trustworthy source where they can find comprehensive information about what care is available in their community. Now, this is the website. It's not launched to the public yet, but it is fully functional. So I'll show you some of the main features. The main draw would be the search for childcare. And so there's two ways you can do that. You can either start with a location search and filter down your results from there, or you can answer a short 5-question survey and get tailored results right from the jump. So if I do a search for a city in my area, sorry, my internet's a little bit unstable right now, so you should just let me know if I freeze up or anything. So if I do a search in my area, I can see local family childcare homes and childcare centers near me. You can filter down to get more helpful results based off of the type of care you're looking for, if the program has vacancies, what language they speak, their schedule, and much more. Now, we have a map of the sites, and we have taken several measures across the website to protect the confidentiality of family childcare homes, which are represented by a circle around roughly where they are, but their home is not in the middle of that circle. So we're always cautious to not share exact location information about family childcare providers. So when you see these previews, you can see some key details about the provider, such as their ages served and hours of operation. And you can click in to view more details about each provider. So here we've got some great information about, what openings they currently have. And we always share the date that this was last updated so that families can know if they should perhaps call to get more updated info or yes. And so we're updating these sites regularly, at least once a month is when we're reaching out to the providers. So every single provider on our platform has a phone number that families can call. And some have also shared an email and a website for folks to find even more information. We also have the basics about each provider, which again, we're drawing upon that long-term history of R&Rs helping families find childcare. So they're the experts in knowing exactly what families really need to know to narrow down their search. And providers will very soon have a portal that they can log into anytime they like and update key information about their program, post new openings, and also share photos and descriptions about their program to help families learn a little bit more about them. Every provider's license number is listed with a link to view their 5-year licensing history on the CDSS transparency website. If they have a QRIS score, that will also be featured here. And one of the major design principles that we took into account was thinking about, when a parent goes to their local resource and referral agency, they're not just walking away with a list of phone numbers to call. They're really getting tailored educational information about how to choose quality care, what that means for their family's unique needs, and other information about the childcare system. And so while a website is never going to replicate that, we believe that this website complements this well with things like the R&Rs and providers can show what type of program philosophy or programs they have at their facility. And we have these little tags that pop up with a brief snippet about what that means. What is Reggio Emilia? What is Montessori care? And you can click to learn more and access our resource articles. Families can also, there's no barrier to accessing any of the information on this website. Everything is free for families and providers. And you can create a free account using your email address or phone number. And once you create an account, you can save lists of providers. So if I really like this provider and I could share it with my partner, I could print it out or add it to my favorite providers lists. And we also, beyond just adding them to the list, you can, title different lists for perhaps school time and summer care or different children. And you can take notes about what you like about the program or anything like that. You can also save resources. We've got a robust resource article library with information about how providers become licensed, background checks, and lots of information about choosing childcare. And we also are, along the way, always referring families and providers using the website to their local resource and referral agency so that they know that there's help in their community, just a phone call or email away. Someday soon, a visit away. So on the resource and referral profiles, You'll see information like their hours of operation, languages that their staff speak, contact info. And one of the really special things about R&R agencies is the variety in great programs that they have that are culturally and linguistically responsive to their local community's needs. So we've shown this by showing program highlights of the different services they offer. Childcare Referrals and Childcare Initiative Project are in every county in the state, but there's also lots of great programs for families and providers that might be unique to different agencies. So that's where they're featured here. This website is available in multiple languages. So it's to access for lots of folks, and it's very accessible. It's completely mobile responsive, and you can change the text size for easy viewing. So let's see, for providers, they can also claim their profile to update their listing, and folks who are interested in perhaps becoming a family childcare provider can also create a free account to learn more about the steps to becoming licensed and connecting with their local resource and referral agency. So there's lots more to share, but I'm going to stop there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Gretchen. That's so exciting to see. And I hope that's exciting for you all to see. And the challenge we have, though, is that my childcare plan was funded by the state using federal CCDB one-time dollars, $2.5 million invested to create this beautiful, beautiful site that was designed, human-centered designed. It's been tested, and it's ready to go. However, we have yet to receive funding to launch and maintain the site. And so our budget ask for this year is $1.5 million ongoing to make sure that this free website for all parents, all providers to be able to market themselves, and anyone who needs to find care for a child, whether they're a parent or not, it could be anyone, is available as soon as possible. It is the data that is supplied to this site is provided by the R&Rs, and their data are the most complete and accurate available because, as Kelly mentioned, and Gretchen, we reach out to providers to update their information regularly and often, especially during COVID. So we really need this funding to be able to launch this site, and especially as people begin to go back to work and are in need of new childcare providers. So with that, I still have Emily. Is Emily still spotlighted for everybody else, or just me? Sorry, I just want to take the time to thank everyone for coming out. There's nothing to move you. Sorry about that, Emily. I just want to take the time to thank everyone for coming out today, this morning. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Heart of R&R, that you understand and realize we've been in this business for a really long time. We're valuable parts of every community in California, and we're here to stay. And here to help families, children, and providers be well, be whole, and be their best. So thank you so much for coming, and enjoy your day.